today with a doll artist that specializes in BJDs. This is Sarah. Say it.
Sarah Sider.
It's just like my name. Nobody can pronounce that. Shahar Boyaya and Sarah
Sider.
Sider. Okay, German descendant, right?
I often get called Sarah Sider. So.
Cool. Well, let's start talking about you and how you. I know we all started dealing with dolls when we were young, right?
Mm-hmm,
We had dolls. But tell me how that inspired you to start a business, and tell me a little bit about your journey.
Originally, I started with Barbies when I was little, of course, and I enjoyed making clothes for them and redoing their hair and everything like that. And so eventually that translated into, at a later date, I wanted to do that professionally. I was looking on eBay and I saw some customized Barbies that they sell on eBay. And I saw it and I thought, I can do that. And I enjoy making doll clothes. I just didn't really have an excuse to until then. And so I bought some Barbies and I redressed them and restyled their hair, and I sold them on eBay very successfully. And I found
so they would sell right away.
Yeah,
Before
they
auction.
would. And I'd pay $10 for a Barbie doll, and I'd go and sell it for $200. And so I thought it was pretty nice. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I started working on bigger fashion dolls, and those were a little bit more of an initial cost, but then I would resell them for a larger amount, and so it evened out. And so I did that for a while, and then I ran across the ball jointed dolls, the BJDs, and of course the initial investment in those was so great that I wasn't sure if that was something I could get into.
Did you get the same shock as I did? Because the first time I saw the price of a BJD, I said, "What's going on here?" Because that's pricey.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a doll.
Definitely, it was a little bit of a. It was an initial, I want that, and then I saw the price and went, maybe not.
Tell me a little bit about the process of you making the BJD.
All right. Usually I start with a polymer clay, which I usually use Super Sculpey, but recently I've started using Pro Sculpt, and I like both of them for different purposes. But I'll sculpt the pieces, and then after they're sculpted and cured so that they're hard, actually, as a note on that, I don't pre-drill any holes for the elastic pathways. With the ball jointed dolls, they're all strung with the elastic, and so they have to have pathways going through all the parts to be able to string it together. But I don't do that because it's a lot easier to cast it without those already drilled. I like to make my mold boxes out of Legos because then I have the most.
Really?
Yeah, I have the most versatility because I can fit it right to the.
So instead of using cardboard, you put a Lego box together.
Yeah.
And you steal that from your kids, probably, right?
Yeah.
And then you will pour the silicone there.
Yeah, cool. That way I can fit it right to the size of the box. Now, occasionally I'll have an angle like this, for instance, and for that I used a piece of cardboard inside of the Lego box to give it that angle. Okay. But most of the time I don't, and I just use tape to put it in place. I couldn't resist them, and so I eventually bought a couple and customized them. So that I could try it out and see how well it went, and it went okay. I did make a profit. It just wasn't as big of a margin as with the other dolls.
So in this moment, you were doing what? Face up and the dresses, and then you would resell the doll.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. And so I did that, and most of them went for around the fashion dolls for around $300 to $500, and then
What year was that?
That was like 2004 or 5.
So before the recession, okay?
Yeah, and during that time, my highest selling one went for $1,600. So, but most of them were around the lower range.
Right.
Eventually, when I got to that point where I decided to sculpt my own dolls, I decided to just go for it and try it out. But I had a couple of ball jointed dolls that I had purchased to kind of figure out how the joints
So you
work.
put them apart and...
Yeah, I kind of looked really close.
And where do I get this kind of elastic?
Yeah, I tried to get into the process of it all, and the first one I tried to sculpt was a really big one, which was a big mistake to take on something that big initially. But I have a very awesome father-in-law who's a dental technician, and he had all the he didn't have the resin, but he had all the silicone and all the space to do it and everything like that, and he sponsored me being able to do my first a bunch of molds and
Mhm.
things like that. It was a big learning process. I made a lot of mistakes.
All the time you didn't buy books, you didn't have a teacher, you were teaching yourself by,
Yeah,
oh, you're a brave woman.
it was just a trial and error thing.
And did you have any kind of data that would, first of all, if you say, okay, I'm going to make dolls to make money, that's usually, they don't go together, right?
No.
That's not and it's not a traditional professional anyway. It was just a hint that you had that it would work, or did you have any solid data, or no, I think it's gonna work?
I was just observing what was happening with the ball jointed dolls that I saw. I'm always watching for trends,
Yeah.
things like that. And for instance, the fantasy movement that came in before Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings and things like that, it wasn't that big. There were people out there that liked it, but it wasn't really that big.
Yeah.
But I loved it ever since I was little. And so I always felt like eventually this is going to get big.
So you were doing the molds and you were the trial and error. And you had a hunch that because of your presence in online forums, this is growing.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I already had somewhat of a following from my artwork. I've been doing fantasy artwork, fairies and mermaids and stuff. I've been doing that all my life.
In which media?
In colored pencils and watercolor.
Oh, nice.
And so I felt like if I released a character that's in 3D, 4D, whatever you want to call it,
Naturally, they will want that.
they'll most likely follow me there.
Uh-huh.
Which happened quite a bit. So there were several people that crossed over that were collecting my artwork that are now collecting my dolls as well. So they kind of work together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I formed my company. I called it the Mushroom Peddler to kind of encompass the realm of all my artworks,
I see.
not just my sculpting, but my artwork. Mm-hmm. I will take my piece, set it in the clay.
Oh, just like a support.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I'll set it in the clay and I'll make sure that all the edges, like in the eyes and stuff, are filled in so that when I pour this half of it, it won't go inside of the head, basically.
Okay.
And so then I'll pour this side, so it'll be turned like this with the box around it. And then after that's cured, I'll flip it over and I will remove the clay. And it basically looks like that after I remove the clay. I make sure I put keys in there so it fits together. And after I do that, I take some Vaseline and just brush it with Vaseline, because silicone, the only thing it really sticks to is itself when you pour it. And so you have to put the Vaseline there so it'll separate afterwards. And then after that's done, I'll pour the other side.
Okay.
And so I'll
How
have
many
a complete
pieces
mold.
does it last? Until
These
you
are-
have to make another mold.
This particular silicone is really sturdy. I haven't had very many molds degrade over time.
Oh, nice.
The only time they really degrade is if I have a really thin area and it tears.
Okay.
But
other than that, it stays.
Other than
Nice.
that, I haven't had them give me any trouble. This particular silicone is really a high-grade silicone. It's dental.
Nice.
Since it's a dental-grade silicone, it's really high quality. But I do that, and then once I do that, I have the piece. Sometimes I'll get air bubbles and things like that. This is a miscast, is what I call it, where it didn't quite pour correctly, and then I have to look at my mold and find out why did it give me that air bubble.
Yeah.
And so then I have to create a vent or something to let the air escape. I did a bunch of sketches until I came out with one for my little turtle, which I really liked the shape and that's the design. And so I decided, well, that's the one. And so I started sculpting that one, and I finished it. It took me, I don't remember exactly how long, but it was approximately 6 months
To finish the doll.
to do that one. With a lot of mistakes along the way. Like one time my clay, when I had the face almost complete, I baked it and the clay burnt so bad that it split a little bit.
Oh.
And so I wasn't watching the time well enough. But so I had to do some repair on it and things like that. So there were a lot of drawbacks along the way, but I was determined, so I kept at it. And eventually it was finished, and I put it on which I use Etsy. That's not my only source. I also have my personal official store now, but
Right.
I still use Etsy. And I put it up on there, and I sold, I think, 6 of them.
Oh.
So for doing them myself, I thought that was
In
pretty
what
good.
kind of period did you sell those 6? 1 week?
It was in a month's
a
time.
month. Wow.
Yeah,
good.
in a month's time, I sold 6 of them, and I was giving everybody a quote of about a 2-month wait
Right.
to get them to them, and so I got those ones done over that time, and then I had another doll that was a cat that I decided to do as the next doll. So I put it up on the website again, thinking, oh, I'll probably get 6 or so again. And I had about 40 of them ordered in that month's time. And I went, oh no, how am I going to do this
Everybody
now?
wanted before
Everybody
Christmas?
wanted, no, everybody wanted them in 2 months, because that's what I
Nice,
thought.
nice,
Because of the
okay.
turtles, I had 2 months to do 6 of them.
Uh-huh.
Now I had 2 months to do 40 of them.
Wow.
And I did my best.
You were doing the happy dance. I'm into something good now.
It was a lot of money,
Mhm.
but it was a lot of stress because I had to be working full speed ahead trying to get all this
Yeah,
done.
let's not forget you're married with 3
Exactly,
very young
married
children,
with 3
right?
young children.
Yeah.
So luckily I have a very supportive husband. So,
Nice, nice.
so he's been really good through this whole thing. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do any of it. But
How are things now for you?
They're doing pretty good. You know, the sales kind of go up and down depending on the month and what is offered during that time. And but it's growing. It's been growing ever since I started. It's been growing.
Nice,
The
nice.
sales have been pretty consistent.
You just in Asia you have over 120 competitors, right? But that's not an issue, is it?
No, I find that more of it's about being unique and putting out dolls that are more character types and that can resonate with the people so that they identify with the dolls, and cutesy seems to be very popular too. So things that are more that touch people's hearts, you know, things whimsy and
So your average customer, how old are they? Men, women?
I find that most of my customers are women. There are quite a few men as well, though. The animals seem to appeal to them a lot. I've had a lot of guys that they'll see my dolls and they'll say, I don't like dolls, but I want one of these. So I think it's really funny to watch guys look at them. I have a lot of repeat customers.
Okay.
I have a lot of people who have at least 5 to 10 dolls of my collection.
Nice.
And they tend to come back, so that's always good.
That's good. How long does it take you to from modeling to the finished doll?
The modeling takes however long the creative process takes.
Right.
That's kind of hard to measure because each doll's different. But as far as this, once it's to this point, I can take it and make the molds. I usually do all my molds in one day. You know, save up things until I get several of them I have to do because it's easier
Then
to
you
do
go
them
in
all
a
at once.
batch, yeah.
But this silicone, this particular silicone sets up in 5 to 10 minutes, and so because of that, I can create my molds, and then later that day I can actually start casting my resin. And so it's really a fairly quick process once I get past the initial sculpting.
So then you have a prototype, like this beautiful girl here.
Yeah, then once I do that, I will string it together to make sure that all the parts work correctly, and that things like joints will give me the range of motion I want, because with ball jointed dolls that's really important that they can move around and pose. And then
So you even told me that with this specific one, you saw that here you wanted more movement, right?
yeah,
than you
I
had.
wanted more movement in the ankle.
So then this,
So-
we went to the modeling part again
Yeah,
for
and
this
I added
piece,
to
right?
it.
And then the finished one. This is gorgeous.
Yeah, and this is the same doll in her finished form. I don't know if you want me to pick her up. But there's the ankle, for instance. I added more range of movement there. So.
And then you sell them without the face up, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I sell
As
them
a
both
kit
blank.
Okay.
We just call them blank, and then so some people buy them blank. I always include a set of eyes because it's more fun to open a package with a doll with eyes than one that doesn't have them.
do you add the eye to the face or just
They're
put apart?
they're put in with some sticky tack
Okay.
or something similar, and they have magnets that keep the face on.
Oh, so you don't
So
have
that's
to
a
have
magnet.
those. Okay, nice. Very
So that way the eyes can be changed to whatever color you want whenever you want, which is part of the, like I say, part of the
cool. The fun of the
customization of ball jointed dolls. And then some people order them colored or with outfits, and in those cases they tell me exactly what colors they want and I do my best to match it. So
You use the air brush or?
no, actually I do it all by hand with pastel chalk.
Mm-hmm.
I'll scrape the chalk into little piles of dust, and then I'll use a paintbrush and a dried paintbrush, and I'll just brush it on there, and then I use several layers of a sealer to make sure it doesn't come off.
How do you market your business?
I mostly do it through forums online. I don't, because I'm a one-woman show, I don't market it really widely because right now I haven't felt like I could handle that volume.
What kind of volume can you handle a month with your dolls?
With mine personally, it's hard to say. I've had my mom helping me recently, so it's gone up. I've been able to handle more. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
But because it's a whole process. It's from the creation of the doll to the coloring to the final work, and then there's also the packaging and the shipping and the taking it to the post office. There's a lot more to it.
It's not just
the
making
product.
the doll.
Yeah. And so it's really hard to say because it varies from month to month with how busy I am in my personal life too. And so, like for instance, right now I'm preparing for a move, and so this month
So it has to be slower. Anyway,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you to be able to move.
I don't push it as much on the months when I feel like I'm.
And on the
a
forums,
little less.
it's just your participation online, or do you do banner advertising and?
I do have a couple of banners on a couple of sites, but I think most of my business is from being active in the forums, because I find that when I'm more active and more sociable with the collectors and with the people out there, then they're more likely to come and purchase because they know me better.
Engagement in conversation and creating a relationship will always trump any other kind of advertising.
Yeah, and word of mouth and things like that.
Nice,
yeah, definitely. Like I say, with mine, most of it's on the forums, and a lot of people aren't on the forums. And so I find that when I do the trade shows, I kind of hit those people that don't go to the internet for the social groups there. It gives more of a range of people that are aware of my dolls and the work.
What inspires you to create the dolls?
Inspiration as in...
Or you don't need that.
Lots of things.
I don't know.
Broad
For me,
question.
I keep a notebook and I keep writing all the next ones that I need to do in whatever media I'm using, because you're creating one and comes to the idea, oh, it could be this, it could be that. I don't know. What's your process?
I do a lot of doodling, like I say, because I'm a fantasy artist as well. I like to keep my hands busy all the time with drawing, and even when I'm listening to books on tape or anything like that, I have to keep my hands busy because I as you can tell, I'm fidgeting a lot. So I find that when I'm doodling is when I get my best ideas. Is I'll be sketching all sorts.
I wish I could do that, but yeah, I get that.
I tried really hard to do some animals that are not typically found in the doll world, just to add some fun characters and fun designs to the world of ball jointed dolls. This is one of my more recent ones. Is this little bee?
That she's going to be a freebie. Freebie.
Yeah, this is the freebie that comes with her.
Whoever buys the doll. Do you plan to come up with a new line soon, or you think?
For now, based on the story of the world I've got these in and everything, these are my new line, is the larger dolls.
Okay.
And I have several I'm planning with that size of body, just different faces. And so I already have 2 more sculpted that I haven't released yet. Haven't shown pictures of.
Something to wait for.
So I have 2 more in her size that are coming up. Hopefully before the end of the year I'll be able to get at least 1 more of them up.
Nice.
And then after that I have one that I'm just barely beginning to sculpt that's probably about this tall, and she's kind of tall and skinny. So she's a different look than this one, which is called Willow. She's a different look than this one, but it still will fit into that same feel of the dolls, the whimsy and the characters, and so she'll go along with the same world. Because in my fantasy world with my characters and everything, they don't all have to be to scale.
Okay.
They're kind of just all sorts of fantasy creatures.
Right.
And
so they can have that freedom.
Yeah, they can be any size. So.
That's cool.
So they work for me. Well, as far as encouragement or advice, the main thing is just make sure it's something that you really love. Because if you don't have your heart in it, there are bumps along the way that you'll meet. And if you don't have your heart in it, then those little bumps will seem like mountains. And so I've had a lot of things that have tried to trip me up along the way, and just getting past those things is the most important thing, and moving on to the next step without making let those things be a learning experience rather than something that makes you pull up and say, okay, I can't do this. And then you go on to another thing, and same thing happens, and another thing, and you never quite reach the ultimate goal. so you have
it's a quest, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
part of fantasy. The hero is always on a quest.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
it's part of the fun, actually. Yeah.
And as far as the ball jointed doll, the success of the industry, I feel like it's really going to be successful in the long run, because a lot of people, they really feel like the ball jointed dolls are a personal extension of themselves in a sense. It's not just a doll, even though just a doll can be beautiful and something that you can treasure. With the ball jointed dolls, because they're posable and they're customizable, you can change their eye color whenever you want, or their wig, or their clothing, and make them to be just what you want them to be.
Allows personalization to a deeper level.
Exactly.
Than the Barbies that we have played with did before. Yes.
Yeah, because on that note, even growing up, I used to take a nail polish remover and erase their eyes and paint those, so I can make them more my own. So I identify with that a lot, and I know how a lot of people out there feel about the ball jointed dolls, because they can put a little bit of themselves into it. It's that much more important to them, and they're more willing to do whatever it takes to get those dolls, because they treasure them in a more deep way. So I think that's a large part of why this will last for a long time, is because it's a more personal thing.
Yes, I agree with you. In many industries, personalization is key today. People want things that are just for them, because one of the things that technology does is puts us amongst everybody else, and we kind of feel I'm just one more. And things like having my doll and my hair and the wig the way I want brings back the thing of I'm special. How do they get in touch with you?
I have my website, which is themushroompeddler.com, and that has my official store. But I also have an Etsy site, and then also a lot of people contact me through my forum I started, which is thechamberofdreams.com.
Oh, nice.
That one I started. That where all ball jointed dolls can be talked about, not just my dolls, but anybody who has ball jointed dolls can come there and just talk about them, no matter what medium they're out of. They don't have to be resin.
Okay.
So those are the three main ways, and I also am a member of several different ball jointed doll forums. And
so you're basically everywhere. Not difficult to find.
Yeah, I try to be all over the place.